These are the examples for Geometry A, Credit 3, Lesson 5.2. Lesson 5.2, we're going to be talking about angle, side, angle, triangle congruence. And then goes to proving triangles congruent. So I'm just going to get this out of here because we mentioned that it's triangle congruent. So just to give us some space there and have it be less busy up here. Let's kind of draw a line through here. Okay, so in order to establish that two triangles are congruent, we have to prove that all three pairs of corresponding sides and all three pairs of corresponding angles are congruent. Because notice every triangle has 1, 2, 3 sides and 1, 2, 3 angles. And so that can feel like a lot of work. So it's helpful if we would have a way to prove triangles congruent with maybe a little bit less information. And it turns out we do. We actually have several ways, and we're going to look at the first one in this lesson. We'll be looking at the others, some of the others in the upcoming lessons. So the first one is ASA, which stands for Angle, Side, Angle, Triangle Congruence. And what that means is, let's go ahead and actually show that up here. If we have two triangles, let's make that a little bit bigger before we jump into the examples. And let's say we have a pair of angles here marked as congruent and a pair of angles over here. So again, we're doing angle, side, angle. So we have one pair of angles, another pair of angles. What we need now is a pair of sides. And that side has to be the side that's in between the two angles. So it couldn't be this side or this side. It would have to be this side down here and then this side over here. And so that's the side that's in between the two angles. We sometimes call that the included side, because if you take a look at these triangles, we'll look at this one here. Notice this angle, the side that we marked as congruent with the corresponding side on the other triangle, is part of what forms this angle. And then same thing over here, this side is also part of what forms this angle. Notice this side is not part of what forms this angle up here. So that's what we're talking about with angle, side, angle, and an included side. So two angles and the side that's included by both angles or in between both angles is another way to say that. All right, so let's take a look at an example here for problem number 1. So we have triangle ABC and triangle DEF, and we're going to be given some information. We're going to be told that triangle A and angle A and angle D here are congruent. Also that AB is congruent to DE. And so the question becomes then, what other information would we need? And this is what we're going to be asked on all 4 problems in lesson 5.2. What information would we need to know, be given, be able to find out in order to determine that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF by angle, side, angle? Well, once again, let's look and see what we have so far. We have a pair of angles marked as congruent, and we have a pair of sides marked as congruent. So what we're missing is the other angle. And so we have to choose wisely or choose carefully here, because it has to be the angle where this side is part of what forms that angle. And so let's take a look here in our this triangle. So in DEF, it couldn't be angle F because this side is not part of what forms angle F. But it is angle E because this side is part of what forms angle E. So it'd be angle E here, and that would have to be congruent to angle B over here, because angle B, this side is part of what forms angle B. Let's make those marks a little more clearly. So that is the additional information that we would need to be able to determine, be given, be told, whatever the case may be. But the other piece of information would be that angle B would have to be congruent to angle E. All right, let's take a look at an example for number 2. Now, for our example for number 2, we're only going to be given this. This angle here is congruent to this angle here. So now using our, let's write that a little bit bigger maybe. So all we're given is a pair of angles. But we can also quickly determine that, notice these two triangles share a side, and that side AC is part of triangle ABC and also triangle ADC. And so since that side is part of both triangles, we could say that that side AC is congruent to itself, because AC in this triangle is the same as AC in this triangle. So we do have our pair of sides. By the way, we call that the reflexive property when we say that something is equal to itself. So what we're missing is a pair of angles, and the pair of angles, remember, we have to choose wisely so that the angle that we choose, part of what forms that angle is this side here. So that would be this angle here and also this angle over here, because this angle here, this side AC, is part of what forms it. Now, how do we name those angles? Well, we can't name it with just one letter, because if we call this angle A, it's ambiguous. Like, we're not clear on what angle it's referring to, because it could be referring to this angle, or it could be referring to this angle, or the entire big angle here. So what we're going to say, we'll have to name it with three letters. So we'll say that this angle down here, angle DBC, is congruent to the corresponding angle on top, which would be angle BCA. And notice that even though we can't just call it angle A or angle C, notice that we named this one wrong here. Oops, let's fix this here. That should be DAC. So let's go over that again. So DAC, so there we go, that's corrected. And then on the top, BCA. So notice, again, we couldn't use C or A as the angles, but notice those are the vertex points, the part of the angle where the two sides of the angle meet. And so notice that has to be the middle letter. So angle BCA, notice that C is in the middle, and angle DAC, notice that A is in the middle. And so that's the additional information that we would need, that angle BCA has to be congruent to angle DAC. All right, so again, it's very similar on all four of the problems, but just so we get used to this, because this is something new, let's take a look at another example here. And here we go. This one is going to be for number 3. And let's go ahead and set this up. All right, and this is going to be figure ABCD. And all we're going to be told is this angle here and this angle here are congruent. All right, so we are given a pair of angles marked as congruent. So we have at least our angle from angle side angle. However, once again, these two triangles share a side here, side DB or BD, however you want to call it. So we do have our pair of sides. So now we have to come up with one more pair of angles. That's the additional information that we would need in order to say that these triangles are congruent by angle side angle. And remember, the angle that we choose has to include this side here. So we wouldn't choose angle A. We'd have to choose this angle here, because this angle here includes DB. And also this angle over here, because this angle also includes DB. So let's talk about how we would name those angles. So this angle here on the bottom, that could be called DBC. And then this angle on top here we can name as BDA. Angle BDA. All right. So that's the additional information we would need in order to say that these triangles are congruent by angle side angle. Again, notice both these angles, this side here is part of what forms both angles in each triangle. There we go, DB there and DB there. So again, just going over the angles, BDA would be this angle here, and angle DBC would be this angle over here. So again, you can just, if it ever gets confusing, just literally just trace the letters. So DBC, to make sure you named it correctly. Yep, that's that angle. And BDA, yep, that's that angle there. All right, so that's our example for number 3. And actually, let's take a look at one more because the figure looks slightly different for number 4. And that's kind of similar, right? So we've got A, B, C, D, and E. And then all we're given is that AC and CD are congruent. So what other information would we need to say that these triangles are congruent by angle, side, angle? Well, AC is congruent to CD, so we already have our pair of sides, so we actually still need 2 more pairs of angles. So let's see how we're going to come up with that. Well, remember from the previous credit, we learned about something called vertical angles. When we have 2 lines that intersect, the angles that are opposite each other, we know are congruent. So we can mark these angles as congruent, and that would be 1 pair of angles. Now, the question becomes, what additional information would we need to be able to determine or be able to have to be given in order to say that triangle ACB and DCE are congruent by angle, side, angle? Well, again, we have to choose our angle carefully. And again, that's what we're missing. Remember, we have our pair of sides and we have a pair of angles. So we need another pair of angles. And again, we have to choose carefully because the angle we choose, this side has to be part of what forms this angle. So this side, angle A, would include that side. So we can use angle A. And angle D up here would also include that side. So we can use angle D. So our answer would be angle A would have to be congruent to angle D. And again, notice how angle A includes this side here, and angle D includes this side here as well. Notice that doesn't happen with angles B or E. All right, so again, it's a new concept, learning triangle congruence theorems. We're going to learn a few of them, like I said, over the next few lessons. So again, pause, rewind the video as needed. And again, put forth that best effort. I'm sure you're going to do great with these problems. And so that's it for lesson 5.2. We'll see you in the next video. And until then, take care and God bless.